Okay, so in this one, this is riff on shift again. So it's a very kind of short-ish video, so hopefully less than half an hour, but by the time we do this sort of intro and outro and things like that, it's probably going to be a little bit more. Um, what are we doing? Well, let me introduce you to this here. Um, this is, let me just bring this up. This is what Coding Train was doing with Daniel Schiffman. He was recreating this effect here, and this is what we're going to be building just now. So I don't know how many of these are. I think it's 100. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's 20. It's probably like 20 in there. So we're going to be recreating the same thing in here inside Unity. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to use cubes to do that. So the sort of goal for this is we can take a look at the finished animated GIF from Bees and Bombs. So that's what we just looked at there. We're going to make a base in Unity that's going to be our starting point. We're going to take a look at Daniel's code, which I have over here. So we're going to take a look at that. It's written in JavaScript and the processing language, processing framework that he uses. We're obviously not going to be using that. We're going to be using Unity. So we're going to see what we can steal from there. There's a few bits and pieces that we don't need that we can throw out, but we still want to borrow them. And then finally, if we get a chance, then we are going to try and make an orbiting camera. I can't remember how to do this. I know that it's rotation and then you look at it and you can move it around the thing there, but we'll figure it out. So there's a few ways to do it. We'll figure it out. So without further ado, we are at 2 minutes, so that's good enough. Let's get started. Okay. So our first thing is this is the old one here. I'm going to create a new scene, and I'm going to save this scene as bees cube demo. I'm just going to call it bees cube demo. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a group of objects in the scene that are cubes. That's all we're going to do. So our scripts, we have a Menger there. I'm going to create a new folder here called bees, and I'm going to create a C# script here called bees and bombs. So our bees and bombs is going to be the sort of major sort of part of that. So we'll make it 24 by 24, and then we'll just set down a group of, I'm holding it like that, but we're going to set down a square pattern of cubes, and then we'll set the camera up, and we'll get everything looking just nice. So the longest part with this, of course, is getting Unity to start. Okay, so we'll need these things here. So I'm going to say public int rows equals 24, public int calls equals 24. So there's going to be 24 rows, 24 columns of cubes. And then I'm going to do void awake. And then inside here, what I want to do is I want to create an array of game objects that will probably end up adding a script to it, but for right now, we just want to create those objects just now. So we need a prefab of some kind. So I'm going to create a prefab in here, and my prefab is going to be a cube, which is just going to be a unit cube, and I'm going to position that at 0, 0, 0 for just now. So it's just a unit cube in there, and this is going to be our cube prefab, like that. And then I'm going to have public game object cube prefab, and I'm going to create empty, and my create empty is going to be at 0, 0, 0 as well, which means we'll probably get rid of our cube prefab, bring it down a little bit to there, just to sort of hide it from hide it from the outside world. And then we have our game object, and our game object is going to be our bees and bombs bit there. And we're going to add our bees and bombs script there. Bees and bombs script. And then we need to drag and drop our cube prefab onto there. Okay. So we haven't done anything too elaborate so far because we're just starting. What we do want to do though is I want to get rid of that. Don't know why that was a squiggly mark there. What we want to do is we want to place 24 by 24 or however many rows and columns we have offset from our cube here. Now we want to do it in a specific order. We want to do it at the topmost there. So we're going to do for int y equals 0, y is less than rows, y plus plus, for int x equals 0, x calls x plus plus. And then the position is going to be the offset from there. So it's going to be, excuse me, it's going to be, sorry, I've got a frog in my throat. Okay, let's not worry about the offset just now. Let's just do it from this position here. So I want to do it as var copy equals instantiate cube prefab, and then I can specify the transform, which is the parent, which is going to be this transform, and then translate in world space. No, I just want it to be there, and then I want to say copy dot transform dot position equals, and then it's going to be y new vector 3, and then it's going to be x 0 and then y, because actually it's not the y-axis we're going to do it on, it's going to be the z-axis. So in theory we should actually change this to z, and I'm going to let Visual Studio do that, and it's going to rename everything to z. And that should give us a whole bunch of cubes when we run the program. Awesome. So when we look at the scene, we now have a grid of 24 by 24 cubes, which is perfect. The downside is that we don't actually want them to be in that position. So what we want to do is we want to say that the x is going to be minus calls divided by 2, and the y is going to be minus rows divided by 2. And that should get us back to 0, 0, so, or at least a close approximation to it. Okay, that's much better. So there's our 0, 0 position there, which is our bees and bombs, and you can see that it is near as damn it in the center of the screen there. So that's good. So the next thing we want to do is we want to have, there's a directional light coming down there. Now in the example, the directional light is a kind of greeny, cyany, colory type thing. So let's give it that greeny, cyany, colory type thing. So we'll put that up to about here, and so we'll make that there. And then the ambient light, let's add an ambient light. So we'll add a, what have we got? Let's do a direction light again. Then this time the direction is going to be 0, 0, 0, so everything's kind of down at the front here. And then the direction is going to be 0 there and 0 there. And we want it So that's the right direction. And then the color we want is a kind of yellowy color, kind of this color here, I think. And what's the intensity of this one? Is color is that directional, and that is soft shadows as well. Let's go with no shadows. Is that everything? And actually, let's copy component here, and then let's paste component here. And then you see how that's gone blue. Let's make that a yellow color. Do I have to make it more red than yellow? I think it might be just because it's, yeah, I think we're kind of stuck with that. That's okay. It's fine. We'll leave that. Actually, we can give it, we can change the material so it's yellow. So let's get rid of that extra directional light, and I will create a. Actually, there's a material in here called orangey, which is perfect. So I'm going to drag that on my cube there, which is a little bit more orange than I thought it was going to be. And this light here, we can make it a little bit more intense. Let's make it blue, and let's give it no shadows, and let's go there. Okay, well that's fine-ish, I guess. I mean, I guess we can kind of tweak it. And then finally we need to be in this kind of top corner up here. So the main camera has to be, so instead of -20, let's make that, excuse me, -10, make it -20, and then let's make it -20 along there, and then we'll point it at 0, 0, 0, so that would be rotating around the y-axis 45 degrees to about there. I think that's about right. Yep, that looks about right. And then we need to make it just a little bit higher up. So we will put that at position 15. Well, that seems awful high. 10 maybe. Okay, and then when we play this, yeah, we want to angle it a little bit further down than that. So maybe make that 5. Yeah, that's good enough. Okay. Now, here comes the kind of tricky part. We need to get this offset because this is going to be we're going to use a sine function to do this. So let's have that as what does Chef have it as? He has it as an angle. Okay. So I need another one. So let's call this oscillator. Is that how you spell oscillator? Yeah, there you go. So let's create one called oscillator. So let's do this as a sort of angle equals 0. So this is where we're going to start borrowing from Shift's code here. So Shiftman's code here. So I'm going to start stealing things from here. There's no other way around it. I'm going to start stealing things from here just to sort of see if we're on the right kind of track here. So he has this here. So let's make all these var. So if you hold down the Alt key, and then you can drag out a rectangle, so that can highlight everything in there, and then all you need to do is just type in VAR, and then that redoes everything here. So we don't have a distance between there, which is kind of unfortunate, but we can figure that out. We don't have a map, and we do have a math floor though. We do have a math floor function, and we have a math sin function as well, which is good. We don't have this map function. So for the map function, I think what we'll probably end up having to do, Remy, is use a we can create a map function. That's okay. So I'm going to create a how am I going to do that? Should I make that an extension, or should I do we use that for an extension, or should we use it from a floating point? Let's just call it math helper. So I'm going to create another class in here, and I'm going to call this math helper, and it is going to be public static class math helper, and this is going to map into here. So what I really want to do is I want to do what I want to do here. This is mapping this value here, which is inside this range, to this range here. Okay. So public animation curve. Can I specify time -1 though? I don't know if I can. That's part of the issue. Okay, let me think about that one there. Okay, so where does he use H? He has width and height. Width and height comes from okay, I don't actually see width and height here. So this is the original code here. So he has a width and a height value here, which I think is actually the width and height of the canvas itself. So, okay. And then this is doing X and Z, okay. And then it draws a box, width, height, and width. Okay, so the height is generated by this. The angle is generated by that. Okay. Okay. So the distance is from the origin. Okay. So the distance is actually the magnitude of the transform. So all I need to do is new vector 3 0 and it's going to be x comma 0 comma z dot magnitude. That's all that is. That's all distance is as far as this particular model is concerned. And then the max distance is going to be rows divided by 2, I think. And then you want to go from that would be math f dot pi. So negative math f dot pi to positive math f dot pi. That would be the offset. And then the angle, I think sine is radians, yeah. So angle is going to be 0, then you get the offset there, and then we would just get this map function, which is rather annoying. So the map, I'm going to create a map function here, which is going to be generate method map. Okay, so this is going to be, let's call this T for lack of a min input, max input, min output, max output. Okay. So I'm not going to do any. Sometimes wonder if you tell your family you're recording a video that they just decide that they're going to go crazy. All right. So t we've got to manipulate somehow into these values here. So, all right. So what have we got? What the heck is all that? Okay. So we have to reverse engineer this this map function. All right. So we're gonna do float in diff equals t minus min input and no float. What am I doing here? Okay, so if it's -1, okay. So if I do, it's probably not the cheapest way to do it, but let's do it this way. Bar equals new animation curve, and then I want to have what do I want it to be though? I'm sure somebody's come up with this before. Mathf Unity map. Mapping or scaling values to new range. Okay, here we go. Rather than wasting a lot of time in these things here. Okay, let's see what this is. Let's just do this here. Okay, so minimum input is this. Maximum input is this, this, and this. I would have got there eventually, but really, who has time? Out min, max output. Min output is that, and then that would be t in there as well. So t minus input. All right, so that gives us our map function there. Actually, let's make that. Let's take this and put that in our math helper class. So we'll do public static, and we'll have float map. And we'll write that. Rid of these extra lines. So we'll use our math helper function here. So we'll do math helper dot map, and then do the same thing in here. And now what we can do is we can say copy dot transform dot local scale equals new, and then it's going to be 1 comma h comma 0 1, sorry, and that's going to give us the oscillating thing. Now what we might have to do is we might have to have a controller that does this, so we're going to have to know where these things are, but I'm hoping to get away with not having that. Okay, so this has made everything huge. Well, at least it's worked. So we're getting somewhere. It's just the mapping's all wrong. So the height is going between 100 and 300. So let's make that go between 10 and 30. And so that should clamp everything down just a little bit. So we might even make it just a little bit smaller than that. And let's see what we got here. Okay, so that's reasonable-ish. We still need to kind of bring it down a little bit, but you see that we have not quite the nice effect that this GIF is, but it's getting there. We're certainly getting a sine wave. So let's see if we can animate that sine wave and then try and fix it up. So that's our sine wave there. So that's the offset, angle is equal to that, and then what we want to do is we want to ride that offset. So we want to pass these values in to our object. So we need to create our oscillator. So our oscillator has to have an initialize method. So we need the update at some point. Public void init, and then what we need to take in is we need to take in float distance, and we need to take the offset. We need to take the current angle, start angle, and we also need to take the height as well, start height. Okay. So all of these values come in here, and then we need to basically keep them. So we need to do float, float, and that's going to be that, that's going to be that, and that's going to be that. This dot distance equals distance. Dot offset equals offset. This dot start angle equals start angle. This dot start height equals start height. Okay. And that's going to be that. And then we have, actually, let's do enumerator start. No, I want to do that as an independent start. So when you initialize it, I want to have a start coroutine go for it. I don't know what go for it is, but this is going to be and I'm going to have actually this is going to be public float current angle. No, I want to update the angle. The angle is got from here. So we need this code in here as well. So this needs to have public float, public void update angle. And then it's that there, so A equals angle plus offset. And so this is going to be transform position.x, and then this is going to be transform.y. And let's hard code that in here just now for 24. We'll sort that out in just a sec. And then that gives us our height, and then what we want to do is we want to then say our local scale is whatever this angle is. Okay, so this is just going to be transform local scale, update angle. All right. Actually, I don't even know if we need a coroutine. I think we just need to update the angle. I think that's all we need to do. We just need to have the oscillator, we just need to add the oscillator, we need to update the angle, and then we are good. And so what we can do is we can get rid of that. We can then say copy dot oscillator, copy dot I'm going to say var oscillator equals copy dot add component oscillator. Can't spell oscillator to save myself. Okay, so that adds the component, and then we can do oscillator dot was it update angle, and then the angle is going to be A. Okay, and then we're going to have sort of kind of similar logic to this, but we need to do this for each object in the update. So what we're going to do is we are going to do a list oscillator new list of oscillators, and then we're going to add that to the list here. This might need a bit of tidying up. What are we at just now? 36. We're not going to do this, I don't think. So I don't think we're going to get the camera done there. And then just to sort of speed this up and get this done, I'll tidy this up before I upload this to the Git repository. But we don't need to create the instantiation there. Let's do index equals 0, and then we got index plus plus, and then instead of that position, which we don't need anymore, we're going to say var copy equals oscillators index. We don't need to add that copy, but we do need to get the copy. Actually, we don't need the oscillator, we just need oscillator at that point there. That one there. And we don't need to add it anymore. We just need to update it. And this update, we probably shouldn't update it that much. We can do angle plus equals 0.01. So we can just keep adding the angle to it. We probably want to put this inside a coroutine rather than doing it inside the update. Actually, we should do it as let's do it as 0.1 times time dot delta time, just to keep it consistent with. So we're adding 0.1 per second. And where are we at now? Well, it's a bit slow, but it is working. It's very slow. So let's change that to 15 units, radians. There we go. That looks better. So it's not quite, it's almost like we're getting half the circle. It's also going far too fast as well. So let's make that, slow it down by half. Let's go by 7.5. There you go, that's much nicer. So we're getting somewhere. It just doesn't quite look as good as, like that bit there looks, this bit here, if we just did it at this angle here, actually I think it's going upside down. I think that's the problem. Or inside out or something. It just looks kind of not right. Anyway, um, I am way out of time with this one. But anyway, that's kind of fun with just sort of creating, sort of, getting things from the internet and bringing them into um, Unity, and then sort of getting them to work. A little challenge for yourself. So um, Daniel Schiffman has these challenges on his channel. I urge you all to go across and look at his tutorials. They might not be relevant for what you're doing, but they are different from what you're doing, which is good because it gets you to sort of you know keep your hand in at different things, and keep the sort of freshness going as well. So that being said, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, thumbs down. If you want to see more of these, let me know know in the notes below. And if you haven't subscribed already, please think about it. There's a little red button somewhere on this page somewhere, and you hit that, hit the notification bell, and then click on the confirmation and get a note from your mum and a whole bunch of other stuff. And I genuinely thank you for your time. So until next time, bye bye.